Hello, welcome to another Equal 6 video. This is the reassembly of the FN5-7 gas blowback pistol top slide. We're going to start with the top slide. We'll start with the cylinder and valve spring, valve stopper and the cylinder screw. So first thing we're going to do is we'll insert the actual valve spring itself. These look complicated from when searching for aftermarket parts, that sort of thing for them. Doesn't look like the easiest thing in the world, but inside is a recess in the cylinder itself. It's very difficult to put this in wrong. It literally guides this into place just by dropping it in there. Then what we're going to do next is drop in the valve. Remember, the orientation of this has to, the pointy bit has to be facing the actual open hole, okay? Like that. Just drop straight into its hole. Then the stopper, again, is a D shape, which is the shape of the recess, which is like a D. So if you drop it in the correct way round, it should just be a matter of turning round and making sure that it sits neatly in its hole. Then just get a little preparation going on. This screw here, just to make it slightly easier on your fitting, just put a little bit of grease on the screw driver. Oh, have I used the right one? Use the smaller Phillips screw, a real tiny one. There we go. So I like to use that just to stick that onto the end of the screwdriver, and then lift up our pre-assembled cylinder and take your extra third hand and just hold the stopper down like that, so that the stopper's hole lines up with the hole here on top of the cylinder. And then just screw the screw in. There you go. So that's that fixed in place. So if you're buying like valve upgrades and stuff, there are companies out there that do ones, or even just refitting the original ones, then that's fairly straightforward. So we'll place that to the side, so we don't need that in a minute. So if we just reassemble the blowback unit, so on the blowback unit we have our sides, which we'll put back on. You can't really get the sides wrong because they have a shaped, and then you fit one side. A little guide hole there, so we'll just put over the guide hole. We go back to our larger screwdriver. And put the other side back on. Right, so that's the actual unit reassembled. So next what we're going to do is put the smoother part back on. This one here. We'll drop it and then put it back on. So that goes in its little hole. Phillips screwdriver. Tightens that up. Then we'll put back on the piston cup securing screw. This one here. Phillips. So when you're refitting these, just standard good practice when you're screwing things in is to go backwards, find the thread, and then go forwards. A lot of the Airsoft stuff comes from Japan. They use these self-tapping threads. If you do it wrong, it'll just mess up the thread. So that's back on. We take the piston cup and then we just pop it over like that. So that's the cup back in place. Right, so we'll put the piston back in. Cylinder. So the cylinder's orientation is this little notch here on the back of the cylinder. Has to go inside to line up here with the hole where the return spring is going to go. Okay, so when that's in place, then there's two guides, this one side and that side, that have to go into that rail hole and that rail. Okay, so twist it until that lines up and that one lines up, and when it does, you'll be able to just slide this back into place like that. So the next thing we're going to do is pop back in place the return spring. These can be fiddly to put back in, and is a very common part of the knees replacing because it gets trapped. As in when you try and put the blowback unit in there, it can get it just pop out and you think it's in, so then you test it by sliding the cylinder backwards and forwards, and when you do, what it does is muddle the spring and just turn it into a bent little bit of nothing. So we're gonna show you a little trick. What I do is take a little bit of grease again. You want just a tiny amount. Remember, the orientation as per our disassembly is the smaller front of the actual spring towards the front of the cylinder, okay, or towards the front, the piston cup direction. Okay, so now you see, because of our grease that's on there, that's actually holding that in place. So now when you insert it up into the top slide or down into the top slide, whichever direction, it's not going to fall out. If it does, then just do the same process again, just with a bit more grease on it. So let's just quickly reassemble our top slide. So we're going to put the front sight back in. Orientation is white dot back towards you, because that's what you're looking at. There's a small recessed part just here which has to line up with this recessed part there. So we're going to poke in the front sight and then just drop it in. Oh, let's not tip it upside down. Right, so that's in place. Now, I won't tip it upside down again. So, on this sleeve insert here, goes inside the top slide. There's a small recess part there for fitting on the, allowing the front sight to fit into that. But there's a little notch here, so this notch has to go into the hole that's in the front of the slide there. So, and then remember our little clicks from the disassembly part, the little notch there and a little notch there. These have to click into the top slide, okay? So we'll slide this back in. This is obviously holding the front sight in. So once the little notch is lined up in there, you can then just click that into place, okay? Just double check that your front sight looks okay. And that's that top section reassembled, okay? So next, let's drop the blowback unit in because that is now completed. Okay, so that's pushed in there. Now obviously the issue with this is the return spring. Doesn't seem to be moving great, does it? Let's hammer that back up just to make sure that that's not mangled. That seems right, doesn't it? Just more than likely my lack of greasing of this cylinder. There we go, just need a little bit of grease on there, so just to make sure that that's pinging back properly. I'll be honest, I'm not really treating this video as like a servicing type thing, so it's just basically dismantling and putting it back together, but at least you can demonstrate that that is the correct method. So So next what we'll do is move on to, we'll put the rear sight back on, shall we? So the small little guide there goes underneath. Remember what I said about this being very, very tight on the disassembly video? It can be a bit of a pain getting that in there, so you can hear how hard that is to click into place. So the point is, with these, why these are so helpful is it seems so easy, but when you're trying, even if you know how something comes apart, unless you watch a video and you see officially that is how you take it apart, when you get a difficult part to take off like this, it makes you question yourself. So that's what's good about any disassembly videos. You can just sort of see that that is the way to go, and you can force it off if needs be, or in my case of this video, I'd give you tips just to allow it to show you how to take it apart easily or with ease. So we're putting back in the securing screw there for both the blowback unit and the rear sight. Just fill up the screw. Okay, that's tightened up. So next what we'll do is we'll put the small top slide part back in, which we took off. The orientation is the longer flat side, shorter side, longer side goes on the inside. Okay, and I'm just going to place that down there, because again we've got these small screws again, and the easiest way of doing that again is a bit of grease on there, just to guide these in. I don't have the steadiest of hands. On the other side. There you go. So that's in and sitting flush there, sitting flush there. So next what we'll do is we'll reassemble the hop unit. So we're going to start with the right hand side or bottom piece, which has got the hole. So we're going to place into it the dial or wheel with the O-ring underneath it on the underside. Okay, and we will reassemble the inner barrel and the hop rubber. Now the hop rubber has a line on the inside of it, which is that side, which lines up with this line here. Making it impossible really to install incorrectly. Then what we do is the hop rubber lines up with the small notch in the right hand side part of the chassis. That clicks into place like that. The outer barrel has two small holes, one on either side of the hop unit chassis here, to click into like that. Okay, so we're going to slide this into place and clicks into place like that. So let's put the hop unit arm back on. This part here literally just slots into that, and then this part you just have to spin the wheel round. So the hop arm fits into it, and that it adjusts it. And then we take the left hand side of the chassis, and this bit has to line up with that little notch there, but otherwise it just clicks into place. And then we've got 2 screws, Phillips, next is this recoil spring, which goes in underneath the hop unit there, and then the smoother ring on there. The ring is directional, okay, so small side towards the end of the outer barrel there, and then I'm just going to hold this back a little bit, then slide the outer barrel through the hole there, keep going, and then you can let it go backwards over the actual cylinder, okay? The last part we're going to fit is the first part we took off, which is this O-ring on the end of the outer barrel, which you can just feed over like that, so it's in place. There you go. And that is how you reassemble the top slide for the Tokyo Marui FN5-7 gas blowback pistol. Thank you very much for watching.